Hey, I just wanted to share this analysis real quick. So, if today's bias is up, which we have, I think we might just at least go up to here. We have a lot of news liquidity from non-farm payroll right here. Then we got to look for trailed stops from here. So then we go here, all these lows. Here, there, that low got swept, okay. And then right in here, low, 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 relative equal lows actually. So nothing swept, nothing swept. This thing swept some very minor trailed stops in here. Went higher. Now this became a very obvious intermediate term low. They would put their trailed stops at. Look how obvious it is of all this stuff. And then, boom, when it swept it right here. We have a drawn liquidity, which is news liquidity. 830 was NFP, 815. And we swept it with this low right here. And I want to see what fair value gap we created when we swept it. Pertinent. Okay, so then we went up slightly. Then we had a Judas swing right here, which we had this. I'm noting this just because I had this when I was analyzing the charts. I had this exact setup just the other day, like exact. We had some obvious intermediate term low, and then sweep it, Judas swing, and then easy buy side liquidity at target. So this low is completely protected. If this gets swept out, then I'm completely wrong, and I'm just not gonna trade. But I'm not even trading today really at all. Anyways, I'm still gonna analyze it though, because um, you know, it's NFP. It's better price action. I still want to get the tape reading experience in though. Observe it, right? And so I wanted to specifically observe this. This is the low that Judas swung this low. So this is protected. I don't want to see this be swept at all. That's a safe stop loss. Then we went up and created relative equal lows. Now anyone who was long in here or wasn't stopped out by this sweep, they have their trailed stops right here. So now market makers know that. Um, and I imagine they're gonna try and go down and sweep these out. But this is what I'm curious about. I don't know if they're going to sweep these out because we already got a Judas swing, which that for them that might be enough just to go ahead and push it up. But we do have 7 minutes or so until opening bell. So I just wanted to observe what happens. I am allowed in my protocols to take one trade or no, 2 trades, but only on the sub 1 minute chart. I can't take um so both my models have to deal with trailed stops. One of them is, well, I guess it's one model really. One of them, but one part of it is, say I'd be shorting right now to go to these, or no, after these are, yeah, I'd be shorting right now to go to these, or the other one is usually the 1 minute chart, where I'd be longing from these up to here, where after we sweep out, after we do the manipulation portion, that's where that's usually a bigger distribution curve and stuff. So, but my entry is going to be also half the risk, so I'm probably going to only answer for 1 micro. And I just got to wait for this to be swept out. If it doesn't sweep it out, no trade, that's fine. Alright, I'll update you guys in a little bit. Lord willing. Okay, this is a post review after that occurred. Now my bias, it wasn't really a bias, I don't know. Just what I wanted, narrative, what I wanted to happen. did happen. We at least minimum went up and swept out this news liquidity, which is what I demanded from the market at minimum. Whether we went up or down to these relatively equal lows, I was unsure of. These ones. I was unsure of because they're so far down, and I just don't know what day we would do that on. So, right over here, we did not sweep these trailed stops beforehand, which is interesting. I'm going to journal that. We didn't sweep these out before we went up and swept this high. And there's probably a reason for that, is because our overall bias wasn't bullish, it was going to be bearish, but that was just, these were the trailed stops that we had to sweep, or rather due to swing this high. And then we went down. And we broke down pretty aggressively. Let's see how that. And see, I took a few entries in here. I held to my 2 entries maximum, which was good. And they're right over here. So this is opening bell, obviously. And I was anticipating that we might go down to these trailed stops, like I had mentioned. So I had targeted them. Their trailed stops like right here. And I shorted right in here. As we're seeing us react to this fair value gap and start to create patterns that would indicate lower prices, like we had this IFEG right here, coupled with these 2 highs, rather these 2, and we went and swept them, and then got close, but maybe I should have had a limit order right here, but I got stopped out right here, and I held to what I said. I only entered for 1 micro contract. You can see +1, -1, and then I shorted again right here. And I didn't hold long because I was unsure of how deep we go. I just used I used what liquidity I highlighted in my protocols where I just targeted very near term sell side liquidity. I could have targeted it being completely fair for me to target 930 liquidity, but I just targeted the nearest short-term liquidity, because if we're going to go higher, we're probably going to go sweep this before we go higher. If we're going to go lower, we're going to sweep this anyways. Held to that logic, and then I had to take profit hit right here. And that put me at about break even on the day. Each one was about -50 and then +50 or so. So the rest of the week is going to be like this. Maybe Thursday, tomorrow, I'll allow myself to trade on the 1 minute chart. Which today's price action on the 1 minute was actually very clean. Very clean, but that's the exception. It's more of an anomaly when we have very clean and low resistant price action on non-farm payroll days, which we had today. And I'm going to go journal my trades. I like to record this stuff so I can come back to it. Like because in the past I kind of like lose the model that I was trading. I do well with it for a little bit, but then I begin to lose a grip on it, and I don't have any recordings or like I don't have enough stuff to look back on, data to look back on to say like, okay, I was trading it like this then, that was working out, but now I've deviated from that unknowingly, and which is causing losing trades. So I'll have all this data to look back on, and it's also cool just to track it. Alright, later. Okay, so this part of the video is to go over trailed stops and how they function in the marketplace. So what I do first for trailed stops is on the 15-minute time frame, I will go back to the open of the day using just the daily range. Yesterday is important, but it's mostly today that I use for trailed stops because I trade the 1 minute chart. If I traded higher time frame, I would use previous days as well. So right here, we had what I thought was going to be the low of the day. I didn't really consider that we'd go down. I didn't really care what we do. I just wanted to see us sweep this at opening bell, and the rest of the day I don't really care. But I use this as the anchor point, the low of the day. So everything from this point could act as a trailed stop. So right here, we had this in the 15-minute, this, and this kind of, but this was kind of weaker on the 15-minute. So you have to go to the 5-minute, and that point was actually important, an important point. These trailed stops, but for at least just for pre-session, I'm gonna go into the 1-minute because that's what I trade is the end of pre-session and opening bell. So for trailed stops over here, this is what I saw earlier today. We had this obvious low, intermediate term low, which ICT goes over in, I don't remember what month of the 2016-2017 mentorship, but he goes over intermediate term lows, short term lows, and long term lows. I don't really think you need to know which one is which, just because it's obvious. It kind of just pops out of the screen. Anyone from longs right here, no, there's all these places where they're going to move their stops, right? And the algorithm will detect these places. But the main point is right here. This one is obvious. These are also pretty good because they're relatively equal. But this is the obvious one, right? For the 1-minute chart, entries down here and all throughout here. This is the obvious one. They trailer stops right to here because it, lower low, higher high, very quick. Wow, retail's probably thinking, wow, look at that reaction. This must be a key level in price. This is a this is a very good support zone. So I'm gonna move my stop loss here so it's protected, right? But then we go up a little bit more, and then we go down, and look, we sweep this low right here. So this is the initial buy stops sweep. So everyone that was, all the buyers, retail buyers from down here, move their stop losses right here because retail concepts tell them trail your stop loss as markets. If you're in a trending market, trail your stop loss. So first here, then here, then here, then here, then here. And I bet a lot of them are going to keep it at this point because that looks like this is a little bit of a higher time frame one, maybe a 5-minute one. 15, all this day except for until NFP has been really choppy. Pretty bad price action, but this one still works for today. So 5-minute chart traders would put their SL right here. And then right over here, we go down and sweep it, which means that they are now being stopped out of their positions. And as they get stopped out, smart money is able to go in there and buy because they're buying their stops. Smart money is buying retail stops. They're able to buy all below this low. They have a fake run higher and they push it down lower, just below this. See how this was a very shallow sweep? This sweep below this low was 3.5 handles, very shallow. And that causes them to be able to add more to their position. And because retail is also going to be buying right here. There may be some, as price goes up and makes this a short-term low, retail will also be buying somewhere in here. Or the algorithm, I don't know how much, it doesn't know how much buyers are in here, but it knows that there should be buyers in here because it's so low. So there has to be some quantity of retail buyers in here. And then smart money goes and pushes it back down to sweep them out fully, right? Because they're going to move their stop losses below here. And anyone who didn't have their stop loss right here, and maybe they're more experienced, so they know there's some type of pattern behind sweeping liquidity, they would go and they wait till this is swept, then they move their stop loss right to here after this is swept. Then they got stopped out as well. So Judas swings kind of clear the board for retail. There's no more, very little retail was buying in here because they saw that. I mean, after retail sees this very fast price run into sell side, and they see this trying to make a lower low right here, no retail's gonna be buying in that. Retail, they're trend followers. They don't do reversal patterns, really, not much at least. And now it's easier to visualize in the 15-second chart. So Then we have this Judas swing right here. So that cleared the board of retail buy stops. And then my target was this high right here, the 804 high, which was a news high, because at 5:15 this morning, or 8:15 a.m. this morning, we had non-farm payroll, and see how that's a no-wick candle. That means that anyone who is short in here, because retail traders trade news traders, I guess, anyone that was short in there, they just profited a lot off of this big dip. So smart money's going to go and sweep them out, because there's a massive liquidity pool up in here, because this was a news high right here, and this is also part of the news high. So that was my target, and I didn't care if we went higher or lower after sweeping this. We went lower, obviously. I just wanted to see this be swept, and that was all I was concerned with for today's price action. So back to the 15-second chart. We got the Judas swing, and then say we didn't get this Judas swing right here. We just ignore this portion of this price run to sell side, sweeping these out. Just say we didn't get that Judas swing right there, and this was the low that was created. Well, actually, we'll get to that in a second. So after this Judas swing, and after the initial buy stops are swept, this is the initial trailed stops. So on the higher time frame, 15-minute or 5-minute, this one was swept. And then on the 1-minute, they have to get trailed stops as well, because there's buyers in here, right? So that means that generally this low will be protected. You do not anticipate this low being swept. That's when order blocks work, is when these lows are protected after trailed stops are swept. However, they can make a Judas swing right here, which does happen sometimes. And after getting that makes this low hyper protected, because it's a Judas swing. Therefore, you don't want to see this low be swept at all. If it's swept, you're wrong for the day. And I'm like, if a low like this gets swept, I'll anticipate a Judas swing if I'm confident in buy side. But if the Judas swing low gets swept, then I'm probably done for the day, because I wasn't able to get that day. And obviously it's going to reach to some lower price, and we're probably not going to go and sweep that high, because we had just swept the 15-minute trailed stops, then we swept the 1-minute trailed stops right here. So now it's time to go higher, but it doesn't. So yeah, this low is protected until we reach the target, which was this high right here. This low is completely protected, because that's where smart money is buying at. Smart money is buying all throughout here, and especially right here. And their stop loss, they're not going to let price go. They can let price go as low as they want in here, as low as necessary, but they're not sweeping this low out, because that's where their stop losses are. It's right below this low. So there's no way they're letting that get swept. So it kind of forces them to push it higher. It's like you're on smart money's side when you're using trailed stops. And so back to this. Say this price run didn't occur. This was the low. This was the protected low. And prices started to go higher, and we created these relative equal lows right here. Normally, I would anticipate that we'll go and sweep these out, because any retail that are longs in here, because we're avoiding this, any retail buys in here, they're going to trail their stops to here, right? Because they're relative equal lows. They're thinking, okay, this is a nice support zone. We're going to protect this area. We're not going to sweep it. But smart money will go and typically sweep those out. However, because we got the Judas swing, that changes things. We don't have to sweep these out anymore, because now not only were retail buyers scared to long after seeing all this swift price run, they're thinking, oh, we're dumping, right? Scared to long after that. And any retail that did long in here, they're getting stopped at right here. So now they have a lot of fear. They're not going to enter. They're not going to re-enter after seeing, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have longed. They're probably thinking once they get stopped out, I shouldn't have longed against this. That was stupid of me. And now I'm paying the price. I just got stopped. I'm not going to enter anymore. And that smart money knows they're thinking that. So that's why Judas swings work so well. But Judas swings only work when it's a reversal time. Just reversal up to here. And this low is completely protected, like I said, until we sweep this high at minimum. But that was my whole target, so I don't care what we do after we sweep that high. So normally they would want to say ignore going back to this, ignore this area of price one. Say we didn't get a Judas swing, and instead it was just this low. They would want to go and sweep these out because retail would move their stop losses there, and that's how they get them without sweeping themselves out. So smart money bought in here, and so did some retail, and then retail doesn't keep their stop losses right there. As they see it progress higher, especially when they see it like this and make a higher high above this, retail moves their stop loss under these lows. Smart money doesn't move their stop loss. They keep it here. But so then smart money will say it just occurred right here. Go down and sweep them out and then go higher. And that's how trailed stops work. They got retail out while protecting their positions, and then smart money will trail their stop loss below that low because now that low is protected because retail was just swept out. So as they swept retail out again, smart money was buying their stop losses. And that's typically when I use event horizon like this because this low is protected. This low is going to be the trailed stops that they're going to sweep out. So between those, they're going to use consequent encroachment between those two. And this morning, I wasn't sure if it would sweep these out or not, because I just wasn't really sure. But I was going to use this 15-second inversion fair value gap as the propellant to go higher. And yeah, that's kind of how trailed stops work. I really like trailed stops because it's like smart money has to sweep them out before they say we didn't get that Judas swing, before they sweep this high out, before they take out this liquidity and sell above this high. Smart money's selling all the sell stop or buy. Smart money is selling right up here, and they're using the sell stops from any short goers in here. And that's why I like it, because I know I'm on smart money's side. Like my stop loss is protected because their stop losses, they're not going to allow their stop loss to be hit. And on top of that, I'm also participating in buying retail stops by longing in here if I wanted to go up here. So yeah, it's just an easy way to identify where smart money is positioned in the marketplace. And starting with the 15-minute trailed stops. Like I saw this exact pattern happen a few days ago and I made a video on it. This exact pattern. We had 15-minute trailed stops. Went down and swept them. Had the same Judas swing, like in a similar amount of time. Same shallow Judas swing and reversal upwards. It was the exact same pattern. It's just, I just think it's interesting. Like I don't know. I'm sure ICT has videos on this somewhere, but I never really like saw them, or maybe I did see them. I just didn't care for them really, or didn't put them into practice. It kind of just went over my head. But then during prayer, the Holy Spirit began to reveal these things to me while I was in prayer and looking at the market and journaling and whatnot. So, alright, thanks for watching. Later.